What's up, everybody? Welcome to the live composing show. My name is Stephen Malin, and here today we're talking about UVI's latest and greatest collection called, let's pull it up here, the Vintage Vault 3. So this is the latest update for the Vintage Vault. As you can tell, this is a massive library, and I knew that I had to kick off the show with that amazing showcase video that just kind of goes through really just the tip of the iceberg of what this collection includes. And so what I'll do as the start of this stream here today, I want to pop over here to the main page. So if we go to the main website here, Vintage Vault 3 by UVI, this is currently on sale. This new upgraded version is on sale through January 17th, 2021. So that's through the rest of this week. And you notice that this is a colossal collection of 65 different instruments, 111 drum machines, and 250 machines overall. This thing is absolutely ridiculously huge. It spans 5 decades worth of hardware, analog, synthesizers, and drum machines. This thing is so big, in fact, that there is just no way that I can cover it all in one video. But just to kind of give you a brief overview here, it's probably most known for its FM suite, which are all of the DX Yamaha keyboards and all of the fun stuff from the 80s. We have the Jupiter Legacy here, rebranded as Saturn. We have the Prophet, what they're calling the Prophecy, and that's a legendary keyboard from the 80s. All the way down to different string machines. We have a Beatbox Anthology, which is this massive drum machine collection, which is so cool. All the way down to the Darklight, including the Emulation, Energy, all kinds of stuff. The Mellotron is something I want to spend some time on today. That's one of my favorite retro. It's really the first sampling engine. This is all the way back from the 60s. Really big there, has a very nostalgic sound. We have the Oberheim collection, all the way down to so much stuff. The Ultra Mini, this is actually the synthesizer I talked to you guys last week about. It's actually right over here. I have the real one. This is, a recreation, a clone of the Mini Moog. And so here is a sampled version of it. I think it's super cool. We can take a look at that if we have time. The Ultra Mini, which is right there. And then all the way down to these UVX, which is kind of their branding of it, but it's all these different famous Japanese synths, all the way down to the Wave Runner. So in total, this thing is a whopping 218 gigabytes. It's sampled at the highest possible recording quality. Just phenomenal, and it's ridiculous. So if you are interested in checking out the full breadth of what all of this includes, and you're not quite understanding what the actual hardware synths are, because they don't actually put them on the website. I think it's a trademark thing. They can't say all the names of things. But thankfully to our good friends over at dawplugins.net, I've included the link in the description below. You can actually check out over here the full list. This link in the description, and you can actually see what every single patch came from, which physical hardware they sampled. And it's this gigantic list, dozens of pages long. But if you wanted to do a quick search, for example, if we wanted to know, okay, which one's the Prophet? Cool. So we could actually find out that the Vector Pro VS patch, as part of that collection, when we open up the UVI suite, we can actually find it really quickly. So I know that's a lot of information, but I'm really excited to dive into this today because synthesizers are something that I've always wanted to get more into. And I've used a lot of modern synths, things like Zebra or things like Omnisphere, which historically, over the last 15, 20 years, they've done their best job to try to capture the general sound of what a synth can do. And clearly in film scoring and video games and podcast music and whatever, we've used synths for ages to help beef up our sounds, right? We use them as pads in ambient music, or we use them as these really gritty bass lines in rock music. But there's really never been a company or a collection that has gone to the painstaking effort of literally recording all of the vintage synths and putting them in one spot. And so as soon as I saw this by UVI, I had to get my hands on it because I just think this is phenomenal. It's so cool. And something I'm doing this year is I'm actually trying to get my hands on more analog synthesizers. There's something about being able to twist the knobs and all the cool effects you can get that you just can't get with software. But if you are going to use software, then there's two routes that you can go. Now, many of you might be familiar with Arturia and their V collection, which is emulation software. So if you were to check out any of their emulations of famous synthesizers, such as the Mini Moog, which we talked about last week, it's an emulator. So what it means is they took basically the same synthesis process. So for example, a Mini Moog is a subtractive synthesizer. So what it means is you start with a wave file, right? You start with a core kind of sound, and then you go through each of the knobs and you're taking away with your filters until you create a new sound. So it makes sense. That's a pretty logical way to program that, is to create a plugin that takes the same core sound, but then on the screen, right, you're twisting the knobs until you get a new sound. And it's a very, I don't want to say easy, but it's a very simple way to try to create a similar sound. So Arturia has gone full force. They've done that for a ton of synthesizers, and they've created emulations. But don't confuse that with an actual sample instrument. Sampling is the process of taking a microphone or directly connecting hardware to your DAW or whatever, and you record the core sound that actually comes out of the synth. And then you take that and you put it into your plugin, and then you can use the knobs and stuff to change the sound. So that's the biggest difference here. And to my knowledge, UVI is the only company that's done this, especially on this scale, as they've taken all of these legendary synths and they've made a patch by twisting the knobs, whatever, or in the case of FM synthesis, they've gone through and they've made a patch, or it's already sampled on the physical machine. They've recorded that sound and then they've made the patch from that. So the reason I like this so much better than going the emulation route is these are the real sounds from the real instruments, how they're going to sound in post anyway. And of course, if you want to manipulate the sound further, you can always twist the knobs and make whatever you want. So this is definitely the route that I prefer. And even with my own sample instrument company, Simple Samples Audio, this is something I'm doing this year, is I'm actually taking my Poly D by Behringer, which is a Mini Moog clone. I'm actually going through that and recording my own sounds and micing it up and creating my own patches that are literally from the machine. So I'm just kind of recreating this similar process. It's sampling at its core. And I just think it's such a more musical way to get the authentic sound from the real source without having to go spend tens of thousands of dollars. And they said somewhere in this page, which I thought was just hilarious, the actual value is, I think it might be on a different website where they did a review, something like $30,000 or $300,000, some crazy amount of actual value of the hardware that they went through and sampled. So obviously none of us have access to that, and some of these synths are actually prototypes. They're like the Apollo collection is something that it's an instrument that had never made it into the marketplace. So things like that are just so interesting to me. So with all that said, UVI is sponsoring this video. However, with that said, I'm not getting any kind of kickback or commission. They just sent me a copy, an NFR copy of this collection so I could talk about it with you guys. So my opinions here today are not reflected by UVI. Instead, I hope you'll just take my opinion. I think I have positive things to say. I have some negative things to say. But at the end of the day, I do think that this is a collection that if you are interested in really trying to get that retro sound that is actually authentic and not fake, it's not an emulation, but an actual sampling, this is the way to go. This is literally the path that I go with my own stuff. So I hope you take my word for it. It is a large price tag of $400 right now on sale, normally $600. So if that's something you're interested in, pick it up, because any one of these individual instruments by itself on their site is about $150, $200. So you're basically getting, 60 something free, which is just crazy. It's such an insane value. So big fan. And I hope that you guys enjoy as we unpack this today. So the first thing I wanted to do, let's pop over to my session. I've actually spent, over the last week since I've had this, I've spent several hours just goofing around, and I haven't even come close to listening to all the patches. There are tens of thousands of patches here. It's kind of ridiculous in the best way possible. So my best advice for you is, if you pick this up, do yourself a favor and slow down and just pick one of the libraries out of the 65. Just pick one of them and spend some time noodling around till you really get it. Because every single one of these synthesizers has a different type of synthesis. It could be subtractive synthesis. It could be additive synthesis. It could be FM synthesis. There's polyphonic synthesis. There's sampling, like the Mellotron. They're all different, and they all have a very different user interface, which is reflected. But here's the cool part. You get a different sound with every synthesizer. It doesn't seem possible, right? It's like they all start with the same basic sine wave, sawtooth wave, whatever, triangle wave. But it's really cool when you start changing literally what the knobs do to the sound. The end result is so amazing and so different. So highly recommend jumping into this. So even though I've already spent a week's worth of time diving into this and really trying to unpack what all is inside here, I'll definitely talk about the standout patches that I think are just incredibly valuable. But here's just a quick track that I wrote. I wrote this in about 30 minutes, just sitting down and being so inspired. So take a listen. It's not polished at all, but you kind of get a vibe of how easy it is to write authentic 80s music right out of the box. Here you go. Oh my goodness, is that 80s or what? Is that so crazy how easy it is to get that sound? And here's the thing, if I were really going to try to replicate that sound without having access to the actual hardware, that would take forever. Because even just to get that keyboard sound, something that seems so simple, right? To take something like that, which is so clearly from one of the DS machines, one of the Yamahas, in this case is called Dr. Miles, from the digital soundware, one of the libraries. To recreate that, I don't even know how I'd do it. It has a filter on it, it has a drive on it, it has a tremolo, a filter, and some reverb. Things that I wouldn't even think to put all that together. I'd have to take like a real piano sound and just manipulate the junk out of it to get it even close. But the fact that these are the real sounds that people use for 80s music and 70s and 60s and, the whole thing. So it doesn't sound like a real piano. It's not supposed to. And yes, we could do Rick rolls all day here. Man, here's the crazy part. I'm not joking when I say this, and I really want to watch myself that I'm not exaggerating. But here's what's happening. Every time I pull up one of these patches, I'm just instantly teleported to a different time, whether it's 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. And it's like I'm just inspired by that sound. And I feel like I could just spend an hour on this one patch and just, I mean, look at it. There's so many things to do. And it's just one patch out of tens of thousands. It's just, kind of makes my brain hurt. So anyway, so what I think might be the most productive way to do a review or a showcase of this massive library, let's start with the interface. So if I pull open a new instrument, those of you who have used UVI before, you know, they have their own app or their own plugin here. It's also a standalone app. It functions almost identically to Contact. However, you can't create your own patches in it. But UVI Workstation is this colossal beast. And let me go ahead and delete all those other tracks. It's just this colossal beast, but very clean interface where it starts blank, you double click at the top, and then it shows you every library that you have with them. So if you've seen me talk about the World Suite, for example, that one library starts on the left, and then you can go and sort by all the things, all the different countries and whatever. But with this one, these are all considered different libraries. So let's go through the list. There's no way I can cover all of them, but what I want to do is show you the standouts, the ones that, you know, I've poked through every library a little bit to get the gist of it. And I want to show you like maybe the 4 or 5 libraries that instantly for me make this whole thing worth it. And then perhaps over the next 3 years as I dive deeper into all these libraries, because it's just going to take forever, you know, maybe I'll find another one that I really think should be elevated higher in the list. But let's start with the ones that I think are the standouts of, okay, that's an 80s sound. Okay, that is something that I can really throw in and write something with today. So the first one and probably the most significant library here, which literally takes up, I don't know, 75% of the entire collection, it's the Beatbox Anthology, because this has 111 drum machines combined into one. And it's just one patch, and it just blows my mind. So let's spend a little bit of time on this one. So this is Beatbox Anthology, and I've already used this, I don't know, 3 or 4 times this week on my music for some different things I've been doing. Very different genres too. I've used it in some modern pop stuff too, which is just fascinating to me that you can make this work for almost any context. So those of you who have used Battery by Native Instruments as part of the complete package, it's like that, but I like this better. I'm going to be totally honest. I like this because it's already sorted by the typical keys that we have on a keyboard for drums. So for example, we always expect this C1 key to be a kick drum. We always expect D to be a snare drum, and you just kind of walk up the list. Some of these have a clap activated already, some don't. But I love the organization because all I have to do is if I want to choose a preset kit, I just go up to here and then I can choose from literally over 100 kits that they've already put together from all these different drum machines. So if there's a specific one you want, great, go for it. Or if you're like me and you just don't know a lot of this stuff, maybe start with the sound you're going for. So for me, typically when I go to a drum machine, I want something very digital. It doesn't need to sound real, like a real drum set. So maybe I'll go to digital and I'll find something in this list. At any point, I can just play. It just instantly sounds like 80s, right? Because it's real. And so that is an authentic re-recording, sampling of the MPD-40. But what you can do is every single one of these already has a looper built in. So it's this C3 key way up here. And it's already tempo synced, so my session's at 120. And what I can do is at any point, I can replace any of these, any of the MIDI information with my own sequence. So there's a whole sequencer built into this, which is kind of insane. So you can actually go through exactly like Fruity Loops or FL Studio or Ableton Live. You can actually go through here and make your own sequence step sequencer to make your own beat, which is that alone should be its own software. But then what you can do is go through here, change all the different parameters, but we can change, look, they already have all of these pre-created MIDI genre-specific patterns. So let's say, okay, cool, we're going with 80s, we're gonna go with, EDM, probably something like a Eurobeat. Okay, did you catch what I just did there? I held down the loop. But who says you have to stick with a loop, right? Let go of the loop for a second and create your own fill. Right? So you can turn this into like half automated, half live to create your own thing that's not so repetitive. Or if, hey, let's be honest, most 80s music has one drum beat that just goes on for minutes at a time. So if you want to go the easy route, just hold the button. And of course, if you create a MIDI track, let's experiment with that real quick. If I just go over here, right? And let's extend that so that it takes up quite some time. Just do a quick little cleanup here. Easy peasy, and we'll make it super long just to prove the point that you could do this for the entire song, right? Do it like that. Of course, like with any MIDI, you could just change the pattern. So let's play around with some different kits. You could use this for hours and find the right beats. It should be fun. But another aspect to this, which is really what separates this from some of the other libraries out there, is if you go back to your edit menu, at any point you can exchange any of these patches to create your own drum set. So let's say I'm playing through and I just don't love that kick drum. Okay, cool. Let's change it with any of the kick drums from 111 drum machines in history. It's like, what? I didn't know 111 kick drums existed. So what you can do is just, good Lord, just go through, find something you like. Cool, I like that. And then let's say, okay, maybe you like production and you want to make this even fatter and juicier, whatever, because a typical trick of the trade with kick drums is you typically want to have 2 or 3 at the same time because you want to get some of that high end, some of that low end, just to help to fill it out. So you can just go down here and literally turn it on with a button. What the heck? And then pick a different one. Oh my gosh, that's so good. And I'm not even doing 80s music right now, but the fact that these patches are so freaking versatile. Can you tell I'm getting a little passionate? It blows my mind that this stuff exists. I can't even imagine if this stuff existed 20 years ago when I was getting started. I just don't know what I would do. I'd probably get lost in the vortex, but... And I want to answer a very important question here from Eunice. Sorry for being late to answer this. This is significant. Just like Contact, the UV workstation is built around memory management. And I love when companies do this. I just can't praise them enough for making good decisions. So the UV workstation, it only loads what you're actively using. Did you catch that? This is not like the East-West Play engine, which I know I give them so much heartache because it's a bad engine, because it loads everything and just sits there whether you're using it or not. This is the brilliance of these modern engines. So UV, you can load it on any of your drives. Likewise, check this out. I have a solid-state drive just for my Windows, just for my PC and my programs. I also have a solid-state drive just for my samples. So I understand not everyone has solid-state drives, but here's to prove my point. I also have a really cheap USB 3, pretty crappy but really large, I think it's 4 or 5 terabytes, what I call samples 2, which is for all of my like secondary sample libraries that I know take a lot of space, but I don't need to load fast. Those go on samples 2 because it's not instant. Everything you're seeing today is coming from samples 2. And that should really scream at you that anything from UVI or Contact, these machines, these libraries are programmed that they're only loading in what you're actively using. So it doesn't have to load 218 gigabytes, right? Because that's the whole everything. No, it's just loading like the 10 megs or whatever. And throughout today, as we're playing, I want you to just, whenever you can, look down here at the CPU usage. Check this out. I'm using 0.6% of my CPU. That's not even 1%. And over here, it says 2.16 megabytes. It's nothing, just nothing, right? And there's no lag whatsoever. You saw it. Every time I change patches, it's instant. And this is from the slowest possible drive that I have. And this is true of everything we're going to do today because it's a very smart engine. And this is the difference, right? And that's why I do give the other guys grief when they don't do this. So there's really no RAM issues here. There's no processing issues. Now, if you do have it does say on the UVI website that you should have at least 8 gigs of RAM. 16 is preferred. I do have 64, so in my defense, nothing is going to slow my machine down. But for those of you who don't have a really nice setup, that's okay. You're probably going to be okay as long as you have 8, at least according to them. So let's do the same treatment here to the snare drum. I want to add a second one. I like that, but let's add something else. And you can even choose between rim shot and snare, which is so cool. Do I seem like a kid in a candy shop? Because I am. All right, cool. So I don't think there's anything else to share about this. It's simple, but very powerful. And you can play with all these settings and just have so much fun. You can add effects like delays. What? So let's say we're doing a pop track like I was the other day, and you just want to add some stuff. Add some oomph. Let's add some. Oh, so cool. I can play with that all day. And yes, I want to comment on Xavier, who asks about, can you show the swing or shuffle adjustments? It's not super detailed, but right over here, yes, you can change the rate. You can change it to dotted or triplet, which is the D or the T at any point. And then the groove, you can actually change between 0 and 50% is what they're calling it. And that way it'll swing it. Pretty cool. So you can do that for all of this stuff. I'm sure I will come back to the drum machine when we actually write a track. But until then, let's keep goofing. Let's just keep going. And I should also mention that if at any point you want to create your own multi, just like in Contact, you just go over here to the multi tab and you can add up to 4 different libraries at once and mix them, which is pretty cool. I don't really want to do that. Just it's too much noise, it's too much sound, but there are times where you might want to do that. Yeah, so let's keep going. Yeah, Lorian says, it can be awesome for games like Streets of Rage. Yeah. So let's go through some of the standouts, because again, there's just too much here. But let me go to some of the ones that just instantly I think of, this is worth it because of this library. Let's go first to the most iconic sound in 80s history. It's the Jupiter. So the Jupiter, I'm just going to open up. I mean, look, they've made hundreds of patches, and you can see why this would just take 5,000 years to even go through. But I do appreciate that they've created a blank default patch for all of these synths. That's amazing. So if you don't want a preset, if you want to actually craft your own patch from scratch, under every single one of these, at the very bottom, there is a few patches. They're labeled 0, and it's initiation or initial, and it's either in mono or unison, which I really appreciate. Some of these are stereo, but if you think back to the 70s and 80s, or even the 50s or 60s, a lot of these older machines, they only had one plug for mono, so that's why it's mono. But when you hear it on your speakers or your headphones, your DAW will turn it into stereo. But that's how mono works. So don't be intimidated by, oh no, it doesn't say stereo, because some of these don't exist, right? So here's one that does say stereo for the Saturn VI. And by the way, one of you asked earlier about trademarks. I hate that they don't just tell us what the actual machine is. This is clearly a Jupiter 8, but they have to say Saturn 8. You know, they had to come up with their own titles for everything because, you know, trademarks, they just can't put them on there. They can't say Yamaha, they can't say Oberheim, whatever. So they had to, you know, make it their own. So just use that cheat sheet that I sent you in the description if you really want to know what the actual hardware is. If you're trying to go super authentic, that might help you save some time. But anyway, the Saturn 8, Jupiter 8, if we just go to a blank patch down here, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's only mono. And look how fast that was. That was from the slowest possible drive that I have. And oh no, it took 3 seconds instead of 0.1. I mean, that's enough time to like yawn, maybe, right? It's just not a big deal. So here's a blank slate. You turn the synth on, it sounds like this. Such an iconic sound. So right out of the box, it sounds awesome, but I'm gonna be totally honest. I haven't used a real Jupiter before, so I don't know all the little intricacies of how to make a brass patch sound awesome. But I do know historically that the Jupiter 8 is known for creating these really fat synth brass patches. And because it was polyphonic, it could play 6 voices. So in this case, 8. So I'm not going to waste any time. I'm going to go straight to the presets. That's really the benefit of having a synth, you know, a software synth versus in real life, you don't have presets. So just playing through these, I kept coming back to this one all the time. It's the one we heard in the demo earlier. This is the patch that we all know. I think 80s, this is one of the 5 sounds I think of immediately, this exact patch. It's big, it's bright, it's heavy, and with any of these, some of these have effects on, so do yourself a favor, go to the effects tab and turn off whatever the heck you don't want, or hit the bypass. Whatever you don't want, but I have found that I'm not a huge fan of this effects down here. It's like a sub menu, but within the effects here, I don't love the drive, or where is it? I don't know. Just take some stuff off. You should also know that the mod wheel by default on every patch is set to a low pass, or I guess it's actually a high pass filter. And I don't know about your ears, but to me, that is authentic Jupiter. Oh, what's the Van Halen? I'm messing up the notes, but and it's probably the same patch from Africa. How does that go? In Africa. gorgeous sound that just mixes so well. It has all the little warblies. Right? Oh, it just sounds so good, and there's just a beautiful, beautiful sampling of that. Let's go on to another one of the standouts here. Let's go to Insta 80's is the FM suite. A lot of these are, anything FM is automatically going to sound like 80's. And for those of you who love video game music like I do, it instantly makes me think of the Sega Genesis, Michael Jackson. There's a lot of correlation there. And Sonic the Hedgehog particularly just has this gritty FM bass sound. And everything has that certain short release, fast attack type character. And I could pick on any of these from the FM suite, and they're just, you'll notice from the pictures, it just shows you how different each of these are from the actual sounds or the actual interfaces. So let's just pick on some basses. Again, we could spend all day doing this, but let me just show you a sampling of how good and easy it is to use. Poke around a little bit. A lot of these sound goofy. So cool. So much you can do with this stuff. A lot of these are arpeggiators as well. The thing about FM synthesis is it's not based off of a wave or a square wave, a triangle wave, or a saw wave that you would then manipulate through negative or additive synthesis, right? This is a totally different thing where you're actually taking different pulses, you're mixing them together. It creates a very different sound. It's much icier sound. Yeah, there's just so much stuff here. Let me go to some of the keys. I think of a lot of keys from FM. So interesting. This is how you get that gritty sound, though, that is so synonymous with 80's. Now, the FM-X1, if I'm not mistaken, there it is right there. This one actually tells you, it says it's the top-of-the-line sibling to the popular DX7. So what they're not telling you, this is a Yamaha DX machine. And I think it says in one of those pages that it's the DX1 or the DX2. So let me, for all the video game nerds out there, which I hope is most of you, let me find, you'll instantly know this sound. This is actually where Super Mario 64 got a lot of its sounds, from the Yamaha DX7. Let me actually type it in. Because you can always, this has, the UV workstation has a phenomenal search engine to quickly find what you want. So I'm going to type in vibes. And when I look at all of the different libraries I can pick from, I'm going to find the one that says DX1 vibes. Let's have some fun. Let's actually get a good beat going. Let's just kind of go back to the beginning here. Here we go. I'll speed it up. And then let's take it one step further. We'll call that DX Vibes. Let's find some old school strings to add. And I'll still speed it up a little bit. It's a little slow. Turn the drum machine down a little bit. Let's find some old school strings. So the String Machines is another huge 80s generator here. Any of these are going to sound amazing. These are all the presets. I would actually rather just pull up the stereo default patch and then play to my heart's content. You can mix two together at the same time, or you can just do one. These things all sound amazing, and there's hundreds of traditional strings here. So if you recognize any of the names, let me know and I'll try it, but I don't really know any of these names. But I know that they're popular. Something like that. So maybe we can do both. I don't know how close that is. Not super close, but can't get the idea. You can definitely vibe all day. But my goal here today is not necessarily to sound like 80s, although it's certainly possible. My goal is really to learn to take the best sounds of the 80s and to morph them with modern writing in a way that is useful and that maybe more like a synthwave kind of stuff, or like Stranger Things, things that take a modern sound but really modernize it. But let's keep playing. I want to show you next. Yeah, the String Machine is really cool, but another one that is very iconic, let me find it, is the Prophet. I mean, you can't go far, and that's what all of these three are. It's the P10. So if we were to just open up a basic patch that has no presets, this is your Prophet. This is your Prophet 5 or your Prophet 6. It's another iconic 80s synth that you got to have in your arsenal. This is the default, so good. But what this is most known for, let's see if we can pull up each patch just from here. Yes, we can. Oh, there's so much cool stuff. You can actually choose upper versus lower, which is really cool. Let me pick on some stuff here. Leads is going to be a huge one here. some polysynth. So that's a very typical bass or even brass type sound for big chords for that style. So that's definitely one to look out for. And there's a lot other stuff in here that we can certainly dive into. Let's pick on the Mellotron. I don't want to leave that one. This is not 80s. This is more for 60s music. If you ever want to really harken back to that old sound, I love the Mellotron. It is so cool. Now, this was the original sampler, so they actually recorded stuff, but what makes it unique is it plays through a tape. And there's actually a tape machine inside. When you play the keys, it's playing a sample back, but it's playing it through tape. So it has this old-timey, gritty, white noise type sound. Most notably used with the Beatles and bands like that, the Monkees. Bands that wanted to have a flute sound or some kind of oboe, more like orchestral sounds, played through this tape. So this is my favorite Mellotron I've ever used. So interesting. I actually used this on a track the other day to get this type of sound. I think my favorite of this entire bit, it's the piano sounds. Or even the guitar. It actually reminds me of old PlayStation games. That's Super Nintendo. Love that sound. So good. Now, if you want the authentic sampler, then you don't want the extended turned on. Just use the small range they give you. That nice. I could play with that for quite some time. Lots of cool stuff. I even like the choir one, which is really neat. They put a choir in here from a real Mellotron. Not nice. What do you guys think so far? It's a really neat, really neat thing. They even have a separate choirs patch here. A lot of orchestral instruments, guitar, piano, harp. I like that. So that's really good for that style. I'd love to hear, is there anything from this list that you would really love to hear while I'm poking around? If not, I'm ready to write some music. But I guess it's worth shouting out here the Ultra Mini. Because I also own this, it's less interesting to me, but I know that a lot of you, if you don't have a Mini Moog, you need to have something that emulates it, or in this case, samples it. So here's what it sounds like. This one's a little bit heavier than the rest. This one actually has to take some time to load. That's funny. Guess while we're waiting, I'll have to play a little choir ditty. Combo Carol says, I want to hear the Romplers, please. What do you mean by Rompler? I don't know what that word means. Is there a certain synth you want to hear? There we go. There's our mono. So yeah, this sounds pretty close. And you can choose your patches, of course. Let me go to the bass. I think that's pretty darn close to the real thing. Let me show you the real thing. Let me actually get it booted up for a sec, just so we can have some fun and just show you. This is really the only one I can show you live. Let me find. Let me grab the actual inputs here. Oops. Ba-ba-ba-dee-ba. Come on, I gotta show you at least one thing that I have in real life. This is mic 3-4, poly D test. I'll just kind of show you the difference. Let me walk over here. Let's see if you can actually hear this. To this one. Where is it? I mean, that's pretty cool. Obviously not the exact same settings, but like if I turn off, let's see, if I turn off, now, at the end of the day, you can't replace a real synth. It's not possible. But this is a pretty darn close try. And if I didn't have that, I would probably use this, to be honest. Because it's just cool. It's a little too clean for my taste. And that's the number one thing I've noticed playing a real synth versus even a sample. You don't get quite the same level of grit and, I don't know, differences and randomization and stuff. But it's pretty darn close. Is the best you're going to get with software, and clearly not paying thousands of dollars, paying hundreds. You know, there is going to be a difference, but it's quite minimal, and I'm happy to say that. I can confidently say that. Cool sound. All right, let's keep exploring. So some of you are mentioning the emulation. Emulation 2, let's take a look. So there's two different emulations here. Emulation 1 focuses on some iconic synths from the 80s. It's more of the 8-bit classic sound. And then the Emulation 2 package collection is all about more like the 90s sounds. So Emulation 2 is what you mentioned. Yeah, I'll just kind of poke around here. Because this is FM synthesis, there is no default patch that you can manipulate. These are only sounds that are created for the machine, like a 90s Yamaha keyboard that just has default sounds, right? You can't manipulate them. But yeah, let's poke around a little bit. There we go. That's super 80s. Definitely old school in so many ways. Is there a particular category you want me to go into? Let's see what else we can find in here. Lots of percussion stuff. It's cool. Bells. Okay, you want to check out the strings. Let's do it. Oh, you were asking for the Marcato strings, weren't you? Ah, there we go. That's Link to the Past right there. This is going to require a little bit of a movement. Let's do it. That sounds so good. Honestly, I would not be surprised if they sampled that for the Super Nintendo. That's what they had back then. They had synths and samplers, and what they did is they crushed them down and they stuck them in for the sound set, and every composer did it differently. They just chose their own sounds, but this is where you get that stuff from. This has to be it. Thank you for saying that, whoever recommended this one. That's spot on. Hey, you don't have to buy it. I'm just shocked by how close this is to a lot of those Super Nintendo sounds. Anyway. All right, we have a quick request from Raphael to find if they have the Fantasia patch. Well, we have many. Which one would you like? Let's see what they have. And you let me know if one of these sounds like the one you want. I don't know. Let's look up our giant list here of the D50. Let's see if D50 is on our list over here. There it is. The Roland D50 is part of the Digital Sensations patch here. Let's see if we can find that. Go back to our list here of searched. So you said Fantasia. There it is, Digital Sensations. That's literally the one you want from the exact synth. Is that it? Let's try out the other ones. That doesn't sound iconic to me. Let's see what the other one sounds like. It's loud. Cringy. What else? Let's see if we can find all the Fantasias. 2019. Let's see what that sounds like. We also have the Wave Runner series, which I haven't even poked into yet, which is all of the German synths from the 80s. Yeah, I don't know why there's so much delay, unfortunately. My cameras, I'll have to calibrate those again now that I added a third camera and it probably screwed things up. So yeah, this Wave Runner series is all German synths. Let's see what they sound like. Oh, it's another big one. See, this is the only time that you would want to have an SSD. Otherwise, oh well, forget it. Oh, you have the wrong cloud. That's what you have. I probably haven't found the same one. Sounds like Paper Mario. Or even Yoshi's. Yay! There it is. Yeah, there's so much good stuff here. That's super 80s. Any of these, Of course, there's no one patch that's going to make the 80s happen. You have to layer these things together, but it's still really neat. Black Swan says, do you have PPGT Waldorf? I have no idea. We have PPG from several places. This one says PPG like, because it's vector synthesis. Different type of synthesizing. Interesting stuff here. Let me see what we can find. I don't love bell instruments usually, so I'm gonna try to avoid those. Just a lot of stuff. That doesn't excite me as much as the others. Let me show you. This is the last one I'll show you, and then we'll write some music for real, for real. I want to show you the Darklight. These things are really cool. They're very different than what you would normally do for synthesizers. I think that's what makes it so interesting. Let's just pick on this one. So Darklight is this beautiful green machine that it already has a sound inside. Manipulate it pretty heavily, really fast. Let's goof. I liked this one. Like the orchestral hits. Come on. These are like so classic. Just the classics. So sampling. Every 80s everything and 90s. These are all just orchestral hits. Cool. So there you go. I'm a fan of vintage Vault 3. I think it's really, really cool. There's a lot of fun stuff in here. Now, this is true of every collection in the history of collections. There's always going to be one or two that you personally gravitate towards more than other people, and that's fine. So what I show you today is going to just be what I naturally gravitate towards, my style of music, the way I like to write. So don't discount something just because I didn't go into detail. Really do your research and watch some tutorials and such if you're interested in this. And I think this could serve you very well, especially getting that nostalgic 80s vibe and kind of incorporating it into your own. But for me, the Prophet, the Jupiter, the FM, specifically the DX7, or I guess the DX1 and 2 from Yamaha, those are the things, plus the drum machines that really speak to me and made me want to add this to my arsenal. So I hope that that's helpful for you. So that's kind of the end of the review portion. I think this is very valuable for anyone that wants to dive into the world of synths. And you don't just want to rely on modern synths, which have their utility, but they don't really have character usually, unless you're making something from scratch. But these old sounds, they have nostalgia associated with them. They have memories and emotions and, certain artists associated with them. You can't help but hear a synth bass and FM bass from the 80s and think of Michael Jackson. There's an association there. Or you hear the Mellotron, you instantly think of the Beatles or the Monkees. And there's certain sounds that evoke these different responses. So for me, someone who does actively work in video games and occasionally podcasting and film music, very cinematic music, it's nice to have these at my fingertips when I need them. Like I was saying a couple of days ago, I was working on a track in the style of the Monkees, which is 60s, and it didn't sound right until I threw a Mellotron on it. It just kind of grabbed us and threw us back in time, and it's just a certain sound. So things like that are very, very useful, and I hope that this is useful for you. So with that said, let's have some fun for the next, let's say an hour, and let's just play. Let's make an actual 80s track that would work, and let's just go for it. So I'm going to take a quick coffee break. Give me about 2 minutes. I hope you'll come back for part 2, where we get to write some music. Until then, take a quick break. See you in a sec. All right, welcome back to the Live Composing Show, Part 2. We're doing a showcase of UVI Vintage Vault 3. Now, this collection has actually been out for some time, but version 3 is the latest edition, which they just added more to the bundle, including the Jupiter collection and a few other things. So it's such an amazing value. Make sure you check out the links in the description below. Those links don't support me, by the way. That's not why I'm here today to share this with you. I think it's a really cool collection that you might enjoy. So don't feel obligated to purchase, but if it's something that adds value to you, by all means. Now, a quick reminder that this is an ad-free YouTube channel. If you feel so inclined to support me and to become a super fan, I'd really appreciate that. $5 a month. Link in the description below. You get custom emojis. You get a few other perks there, so check it out. Hope you can enjoy that. And for anyone that is a super fan already, you get a free track as well. I'll play a little VGM for you here on the stream. So just give me a quick shout out. I'll be happy to do that. Raphael asks, did I make the coffee break in music or is it stock music? I did make that. Yes, I made that as part of my Lo-Fi Atmospheres album and game music pack. That and the intro countdown music. Just put those in there. I wanted to change it up for this year. So here we are in part 2 of the next hour or so. Let's write some music. I want to just go with the flow, go with the inspiration, see where these patches lead me today. The goal is to use as much of the UVI as possible, and there's plenty to work with here. So let's just go into it and let's have some fun. So I'm going to open up a new instance here. I'm a pianist by trade, so I typically write things more in a chordal way anyway. So I like to just have things at my fingertips. So let's just poke through here and let's find something that would be more FM oriented, something that would have some keys elements, something that would go like some kind of bass line. It's so quiet all of a sudden. Aha, because I turned this down. That's why. Let's get it back. Sure, let's go with that. So we call this bass. Sure. Cool. And hey, Devin says my hand cam is back in sync. Maybe something about switching cameras screws things up. I don't know. But thanks for letting me know. I'll go back and review this to make sure everything's good. All right, so I was doing a little bit of funk swing there. So we want to turn on the quantize swing, probably 66%. Let's see how that feels. Cool, that's gonna work great. I just need to move everything over. Yay, MIDI latency. It's a thing. So if I move everything over and then do it, let's see how that feels. good. Do a quick cleanup. Nice. Let's clean those up a tad. Straight 16ths will be great. I'm thinking more like 80s pop. I always think of Sonic the Hedgehog when I think of FM 80s. This one's a little tricky. Let's go back to that swing. There it is. This is a really tricky thing to program, because you just got to be really dead on with your timing. It's just it's the challenge with MIDI latency is when you play something fast like this, it doesn't always pick it up perfectly in time. It doesn't always pick up which of the 16th notes it's on. Cool. All right, we got it. So now let's make ourselves a really cool drum. I don't know, it just feels right. It's hard to define what that is until I hear it. And it's frozen. Joy, joy, joy. There we go. So, when I was a kid, my drum patch works. It's just frozen. I think we're going to find out today what the true limits are of this thing. Oh, Lord. Well, hopefully it'll pull itself together. There it is. All right, cool. I'm going to save my work before I blow stuff up. Okay. Here we go. Slow down. All right, so here we go. Remember that part about it only uses memory on what it's active? So this was not active, so it just said, peace out. All right, let's pick ourselves a new. Let's go over to the sequence. And I want to pick something that is very 80s. Funk disco is probably the right style. Like funk right there. I don't love the claves. I guess I still want some of that rock snare. Also could be the kit. There we go. It's like a dance. Go. Oh, that's really cool. Let's see if it's always the same. Let me try something. All right, so I landed on dance B. Yeah. Let's just roll with it, guys. Here we go. I'm just gonna make a few patches. All right, so for this one, where shall we go? I gotta get some Jupiter. It's just, it to me is everything I need for this. much fun. Let's mute that for a sec. Let's keep playing. What do you guys think? Am I getting it? Let's go to some Oberheim. See what we get out of this. Let's see. Cool. Let's keep rocking. Put my own spin on it. Man, this is fun. Very different. I'm okay with different. Different's fun. Changing it up. What else do you think would feel good here? I still want to find some kind of slappy keys like I had earlier. I have no idea where they came from. There's so many keys here. Yeah, some of these just take forever to load. Not sure why. Outside of not being on an SSD. It's quite all right, though. You know what I'm going to do, because I can, I'm going to import a track from the other demo that I started the day with, because that was fun. And now I want to figure out where it's from. I have to filter through my stuff really quick. In the meantime, I'll play a little lullaby. Okay, I found it. There it is. So one of the cool things about Cubase and other DAWs is you can literally find the exact patch you like for another session and import it. It'll get the exact settings, which is quite good. So this one, was from the DS890. I just love that patch. Here we go. do that. That's fun. Do that way cleaner. Have a tendency to overplay and overwrite, so let's simplify. There we go. There we go. Cool. How are you guys doing out there? Having fun? If you're having fun, I'm having fun. No. I have no idea what I'm doing right now. I feel like this one needs to be a different instrument. Right here. Some kind of harpsichord or something. There's lots of those. Dun, Do I dare? Why not? Come on, let's have some fun. Yeah. He's gonna do it. Is he gonna do it for real? Is he actually gonna do it? Let's see if he's actually gonna do it. Let's see who's actually watching right now. Oh, in the meantime, let's take it. There you go. Tasting 1, 2, 3. Da 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 da. Do 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 do. Ha na ha na 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 na. Do 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 do. How now? Try to get some 80s goodness. Da 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 na na na. Do 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 do. Guys, this just got real. You and me together. You and me together. You ready for this? We're going super 80s. with some chorus. That's right. You and me together. 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 Come to you and me together, we shall be forevermore, shall ever be. Can you live Not quite. This is not quite Rick roll worthy, but I'm doing my best. You and me together. No one ever seemed to love. Let me write some actual words before this turns into an absolute massacre. I really do enjoy writing songs. This is quite fun. You and me together. No one else shall. No one else will ever do. You and me together. Always, always. We will. Let's hear it out. It's part of the creative process, just trying stuff, right? You and me together, no one else will ever do. You and me together, always we find see. Da 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 da. Yeah da 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 da. So 6 syllables, always. Da eternity. Sometimes that's how you write music, is you try to match it to the syllables. Da 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 eternity. Da-da. No one, you and me together. No one else will ever do. You and me together. hell? I'm not the greatest at lyrics, so it's okay. I'm trying. You and me together. We'll face all of eternity. How's that? See how that sounds. This is such crazy. Oh, but this is so much fun. Face all of eternity. Let's make that rhyme a little bit better. You and me together. Together we will always be. Rhymes with eternity better. Closely we will ever be. You and me together will face all of eternity. It's cheesy, but it works. Oopsie doopsie. You and me together, closely we will ever be. You and me together, we'll face all of it. You and me together, closely we will ever be. You and me together, we'll face all of eternity. All right, now that the Cheese Factory has produced, let's see what we got here. This Shure SM7B is fantastic for this type of vocals. Big fan. Let's see how it actually sounds. You and me together, closely we will ever be. You and me together, we'll face all of eternity. Not terrible. Here's what I am going to do. Anytime you have MIDI that, starts at different times, I would highly suggest doing a little bounce in place. Doesn't take long, but it turns into audio and it makes it so much easier. Who's still here with me in this insanity that we're doing today? I'm having fun. I hope you're having fun. You and me together. That's right, you and me, YouTube, you and me together, closely we will ever be. You and me together will face all of eternity. Let's call this song Eternity. My 80s hit. Oh, I can't believe I'm even doing this right now. But to me, you gotta go with it. There it is. Excellent. Quiet drums. Now it's actually a kit, and we can put it precisely where we need it to be with no MIDI error. That's a better spot. Let me rewrite that. So you and me together, and me together. Closely we, you and me together. 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 Perhaps it just needs to slide over. You and me together. You and me together. Like this is I can just keep looping it. What's funny is I always never like do it. wait for it. Hurt you. Ain't ever gonna let you hurt. What the heck note is that? Can the world handle? I don't know if they can. I'm in the left speaker now. Now I'm in the right speaker. basically a custom manual. Fine. That's how it's done right there. Yeah. That synth bass is so good. Oh my gosh. This is fun. Let's about some mastering options here to really get this thing where we want it. Want to add some kind of tube analogness. hate to kill this middle section, but yeah, it's just a better song if I condense it down a little bit. A little bit more compact, intentional. Broke it. It won't stop playing. I'm stuck. I don't want to quit my session, but I might have to. Well, guess you can keep listening if you want. And just like that, Cubase got the axe. Hopefully I can revive this thing and bring it back. Hopefully it's saved. We'll see. But with that, folks, I believe we're done. Yeah, I wanted to play the final for you guys. You and me together. Oh, Lord have mercy. The last time it saved was a while ago. That makes me very sick to my stomach. You and me together. Oh. And with that, thanks for being a part of the live composing show where anything can happen and your session can break in the middle of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to redo the things I just did for the last 15 minutes and upload the final track for you guys. I'll put it on SoundCloud and I'll link it in the description below if you're watching this after it airs live. Thanks for being a part, guys. This is a lot of fun. Just to experiment with 80 sounds and to goof around, have fun. If you've not checked out the UVI Vintage Vault 3, it's really cool. As you can see, you can make lots of cool 80 stuff. I'm more interested in finding a way to put all this into my modern composing, which I'll certainly do. But this is a fun little showcase today. So thanks for being a part. I hope you have a wonderful day. I know that we moved the time normally on Thursdays. Today was on Wednesday, but I will see you next Thursday for the next live composing show, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.